The massive diplomatic station hung in space like a jewel catching starlight. Council Station Epsilon 7 was home to 47 different alien species, each with their own guards, weapons, and ideas about security. Today, something unusual was happening. The humans were arriving for the first time. Tae-ho Kim stood at the airlock door, watching the station's interior through the transparent barrier. He wore a simple dark blue uniform with no armor, no visible weapons, and no equipment belt. His hands were empty. Behind him, 2 other guards waited in identical uniforms. Hana Choi, the youngest of the team, kept her breathing steady and her eyes sharp. Next to her stood Dong Jin Song, a veteran who had seen more diplomatic missions than most people had birthdays. The airlock opened with a hiss. Ambassador Ji-won Park stepped through first, her formal robes flowing behind her. Tae-ho and his team followed 3 steps behind, maintaining perfect formation. They moved smoothly, their footsteps silent despite the metal floor. The reception hall was enormous. Dozens of alien species filled the space. Some looked like insects with too many legs. Others resembled crystals that somehow walked and talked. A few were just clouds of gas held together by force fields. All of them stopped talking when the humans entered. Velthur, the station's security chief, approached immediately. His insect-like body clicked and clacked as he moved on 6 legs. His compound eyes examined the human guards from multiple angles at once. He spoke through a translator device that made his voice sound mechanical and cold. Ambassador Park, welcome to Council Station Epsilon 7. I must address a concerning matter immediately. Your security personnel appear to be unarmed. Ji-won Park smiled politely. That is correct, Security Chief. Human diplomatic guards do not carry weapons. This is our standard protocol. A ripple of noise spread through the crowd. Several alien delegates turned to stare. Some made sounds that the translators couldn't interpret, but clearly meant confusion or amusement. Velthur's antennae twitched. This is unacceptable. Every species that enters this station must follow proper security protocols. Your guards must carry appropriate defensive equipment, or you must accept protection from Council security forces exclusively. Tae-ho remained perfectly still, but his eyes never stopped moving. He tracked every alien in the room, noting which ones carried weapons, which ones seemed aggressive, and which ones appeared curious rather than hostile. Hannah did the same, her training making the assessment automatic and instant. A large reptilian alien pushed through the crowd. His name was Krasner, and he represented one of the more aggressive species in the Council. His scales were deep red, and his teeth were visible, even when his mouth was closed. He laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. Humans, the new species everyone talks about. You look so soft and weak. How do you expect to survive in this galaxy without weapons? Do you plan to throw harsh words at your enemies? Several other aliens joined his laughter. A few didn't laugh, but watched the humans with obvious skepticism. One delegate, an amphibious creature named Brintok, shook his head slowly. The galaxy is dangerous, Ambassador Park. Perhaps your species does not yet understand this. We have been traveling the stars for thousands of your years. We know that peace is maintained through strength, and strength requires power. Ji-won Park's expression never changed. Her voice remained calm and professional. We understand the galaxy perfectly well, Representative Brintok. Humans have our own long history with conflict and peace. We simply approach security differently. Velthur clicked his mandibles together, a sign of frustration in his species. Different or not, you must comply. I cannot allow unarmed personnel to serve as guards. It sets a dangerous precedent and creates security vulnerabilities. You have 3 options. Arm your guards with standard Council weapons. Accept Council security exclusively. or lose your speaking privileges at the upcoming summit. The room went quiet. Losing speaking privileges would mean humanity's first visit to the Council would be pointless. They would be observers only, unable to participate in discussions or vote on galactic matters. It would mark humanity as weak and unimportant. Hana felt her muscles tense slightly, but her face showed nothing. Years of training controlled her reactions. She noticed Tae-ho shift his weight almost imperceptibly, moving into a stance that looked relaxed, but could transform into action in a fraction of a second. She mimicked the adjustment. Ambassador Park looked at Velther directly. "Security Chief, I appreciate your concerns. However, I must respectfully decline all three options. Our guards will remain as they are. We will keep our speaking privileges. And we will demonstrate why our approach is not only adequate, but superior." The crowd erupted. Aliens spoke over each other in dozens of languages. The translators struggled to keep up. Krasner stepped forward, his claws scraping the floor. "Superior? You dare claim superiority? Your guards look like children playing dress-up. One of my warriors could tear them apart in seconds." Ta-ho finally spoke. His voice was quiet, but carried clearly through the noise. "Then perhaps we should test that claim." Everyone stopped talking. They turned to look at the human guard who had spoken. Tae-ho's face showed no emotion. He simply stood there, waiting. Velther's antennae drooped slightly. "You wish to engage in a combat demonstration?" "No," G1 Park interrupted smoothly. "But since the Council seems unconvinced of our capabilities, perhaps a security exercise would be appropriate. If you have standard tests for guard units, we would be happy to participate." Brintok leaned forward, his large eyes blinking slowly. "We do have such tests. They are used to evaluate new security personnel. Most species require their guards to attempt the simulation 3 or 4 times before passing." "One attempt will be sufficient," Tae-ho said simply. Krasner laughed again, louder this time. "Arrogant mammals. I will enjoy watching you fail. Perhaps then you will understand why we who have lived in space for millennia carry weapons. You are not special. You are simply young and foolish." Velther made a clicking sound that might have been a sigh. "Very well. Tomorrow at Station Morning Cycle, we will conduct a full security evaluation. All Council delegates are invited to observe. The scenario will be a standard Level 5 threat response. If your guards pass, Ambassador Park, we will discuss your protocols further. If they fail, you will accept Council security or leave the station." G1 Park bowed slightly. "Agreed. Thank you for your accommodation, Security Chief." As the human delegation was escorted to their quarters, the aliens began talking again. Most were already placing bets on how quickly the humans would fail. Krasner boasted that his species' guards would volunteer to play the role of attackers in the simulation, just to make the humans' defeat more humiliating. In the elevator to their quarters, Hannah finally allowed herself to smile slightly. Level 5 threat response. That's their highest difficulty. Tae-ho nodded. They want to make a point. Show the new species their place. Ambassador Park looked at her guards. "Can you pass it?" Dongjin spoke for the first time since boarding the station. His voice was dry and matter-of-fact. "Ambassador, we trained for situations far worse than any simulation. The question isn't whether we can pass. The question is how much we should reveal." Tae-ho considered this. Enough to earn respect. Not enough to cause fear. Fear might be unavoidable. Hana said quietly. The elevator opened. Their quarters were spacious and comfortable, designed to accommodate human biology. As they entered, Ji-Won Park turned to her guards. "Tomorrow, the galaxy is going to learn something about humanity. Make sure the lesson is clear, but not cruel. We're here to make friends, not enemies." Tae-ho nodded. Understood, Ambassador? As the guards prepared for the next day, across the station, 47 species gossiped and speculated. None of them understood what they were about to witness. None of them knew that Earth, the human homeworld, was different from any planet that had produced intelligent life in the known galaxy. They didn't know about Earth's gravity, its predators, or its history. They were about to learn. Tomorrow would change how every species in the Council viewed humanity. Tomorrow, the real introduction would begin. The observation deck was packed. Every species on the station had sent representatives to watch the human guards attempt the security simulation. Some came out of curiosity. Most came expecting entertainment. They wanted to see the arrogant newcomers fail and learn humility. The simulation chamber was enormous, designed to accommodate various body types and combat styles. Holographic projectors could create any environment. Force field technology made the weapons feel real without causing actual injury. The computer could track every movement, every reaction, every decision. Velther stood at the control panel, his multiple eyes scanning the readouts. Next to him, Hyeon-Soo Lee, the human cultural liaison officer, watched quietly. She had tried to explain human capabilities last night, but Velther had dismissed her words as exaggeration. Now he would see for himself. The scenario is simple, Velther announced, his voice echoing through the speakers. Your team must protect a VIP from hostile attackers. The attackers will use lethal force. The VIP cannot be harmed. All attackers must be neutralized. Time limit is 15 minutes. Most guard teams complete this in 10 to 12 minutes, with the VIP sustaining minor injuries. Tae-ho nodded. He stood with Hana Dongjin and two other guards named Yunabei and Soo-jin Kang. All five wore their standard uniforms. No armor, no weapons. Their hands were empty dot in the observation deck. Krasner laughed. This will be over in seconds. Look at them. They have nothing. The simulation began. The environment materialized around the human guards. They stood in what appeared to be a crowded marketplace. The VIP, a holographic diplomat, stood in the center of their formation. Civilians moved through the space, created by the computer to add chaos and confusion. For exactly 4 seconds, nothing happened. The guards stood motionless, their eyes tracking movement patterns. Then Hannah's head tilted slightly to the left. 3 o'clock, elevated position, she said quietly. Tae-ho saw it too. A figure on a second-floor balcony, partially hidden behind a pillar. The figure's hand was moving towards something at his waist. The attacker hadn't even drawn his weapon yet, but the humans had already identified him. 5 o'clock, ground level. Approaching through civilian cover, Dongjin added. 7 o'clock, rapid approach. Aggressive posture, Soo-jin said. Before the first attacker could raise his weapon, Yuna moved. She didn't run. She flowed. Her body crossed 15 meters in less than 2 seconds, weaving between holographic civilians so smoothly she never touched one. The attacker on the balcony finally pulled his plasma pistol. Yuna was already there. She jumped, caught the railing with one hand, and vaulted over. Her other hand struck the attacker's wrist before he could aim. The weapon clattered away. Her leg swept his feet. The attacker fell hard. Before he could recover, Yuna had him in a control hold that made movement impossible without breaking his own arm. Total time, 3.2 seconds dot in the observation deck. Several aliens gasped. Krasner stopped laughing. The second attacker drew his weapon and fired at where Tae-ho had been standing. Tae-ho wasn't there anymore. He had moved the instant before the trigger was pulled, as if he knew exactly when the shot would come. The plasma bolt hit empty air. Tae-ho closed the distance, while the attacker was still processing his miss. The human guard's hand moved in a blur, striking a specific point on the attacker's neck. The alien collapsed, unconscious but breathing. Tae Hao caught the falling plasma rifle, removed its power cell, and tossed both pieces aside. Total time, 1.8 seconds. The third attacker was smarter. He grabbed a holographic civilian as a shield and pressed his weapon against the innocent's head. "Stay back or I shoot." Hannah appeared behind him. She had somehow circled around through the crowd without being seen. Her arm wrapped around his weapon hand, controlling it. Her other hand found a pressure point. The attacker's fingers spasmed open. The weapon fell. Hannah guided him to the ground with techniques that looked gentle, but were absolutely irresistible. Total time, 2.5 seconds. The simulation adjusted. The computer, realizing the current difficulty was insufficient, increased the threat level. 6 more attackers appeared, all heavily armed. They spread out, taking strategic positions. The human guards responded by changing formation. They moved the VIP to a covered position, then split up. Each guard took a vector, moving with coordination that seemed telepathic. There was no discussion, no debate. They simply knew where each other would be. Su Jin faced 2 attackers armed with energy rifles. They fired repeatedly. She dodged, her body moving in ways that seemed to predict where the shots would go. She closed in, using a structural pillar for cover, then emerged at an angle they didn't expect. 2 quick strikes. 2 unconscious attackers. Dong Jin confronted 3 opponents at once. They rushed in together, thinking numbers would overwhelm him. He used their momentum against them. 1 attacker threw a punch. Dong Jin redirected it into another attacker's face. He spun, his legs sweeping the third attacker's knees. All 3 went down in a tangle. Before they could separate, Dong Jin had disabled each one with precise strikes to nerve clusters. The simulation escalated again. The computer sent 12 attackers this time, some with heavy weapons, others with energy shields. The observation deck grew silent. This level of difficulty was normally reserved for elite military units. Tae-ho spoke 1 word: Pattern 7. The guards moved instantly. They formed a rotating defense around the VIP, constantly in motion, never presenting a static target. The attackers fired from multiple directions. The humans dodged, ducked, and redirected. When they couldn't avoid a shot, they used cover. When cover wasn't available, they moved so fast, the targeting systems couldn't track them. Hana scaled a wall, running vertically for 3 steps before pushing off and landing behind 2 attackers. Yuna slid under a table, emerged next to a heavily armored opponent, and found the 1 weak point in his shield generator. Su-jin disarmed an attacker and used his own weapon's weight against him, throwing him off balance. Dong-jin faced 4 attackers simultaneously and disabled all 4 in 8 seconds, using only his hands and feet. Tae-ho moved through the chaos like water flowing downhill, always taking the path of least resistance, always exactly where he needed to be. An attacker with a massive energy cannon tried to target the VIP. Tae-ho was there before the weapon could charge. He struck the cannon's power coupling, causing it to short out. He struck the attacker's solar plexus, taking his breath away. The attacker fell, gasping but alive. The entire encounter lasted 4 minutes and 17 seconds. 21 attackers lay disabled. The VIP stood unharmed, not even breathing heavily. The 5 human guards regrouped, barely winded. The simulation ended. The holographic environment vanished. In the observation deck, there was absolute silence. 300 aliens from 47 species stared at the humans in the chamber below. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Velther's antennae drooped completely. He checked his instruments 3 times, certain there must be a malfunction. The readouts were accurate. The humans had just completed a level 5 security scenario in less than one-third the expected time. With zero harm to the VIP, and with all attackers subdued, using no weapons whatsoever. Young-Mi Shin, the human protocol specialist, stood in the observation deck near a group of shocked aliens. One of them, an energy being named Felming, finally spoke. How? They moved before the attackers even acted. They reacted to shots that hadn't been fired. They coordinated without communication. This is not possible. Young Mi smiled gently. It's training. Pattern recognition. Humans evolved reading body language, predicting behavior. Our guards trained for 15 years minimum before serving on diplomatic missions. 15 years? Brintok breathed. Our guards trained for 3. Down in the simulation chamber, Taiho approached the observation window. He looked up at Velthur and spoke clearly. Security Chief, would you like us to attempt a higher difficulty level? Velthur's translator made a sound like static, as if the device couldn't process his response. Finally, he managed to speak. There is no higher difficulty level. You just completed the most advanced security scenario in Council history. In record time, without weapons, without injuries, without errors. Krasner pushed his way to the window. His red scales had paled slightly. This is a trick. You programmed the simulation. You cheated somehow. Taiho's expression didn't change. Security Chief Velthur operated all controls. We never touched the system. If you believe we cheated, review the recordings. Everything is documented. Ambassador G1 Park appeared in the observation deck. She had watched from a private viewing room. Now she addressed the crowd. I believe we have demonstrated our security capabilities. Do the human guards meet Council standards, Security Chief Velthur? Velthur was quiet for a long moment. His compound eyes reflected the lights in dozens of directions. When he spoke, his voice was different. The skepticism was gone. Something else had replaced it. Respect, perhaps. Or maybe concern. Your guards exceed all known standards, Ambassador Park. I have never seen anything like this. I must ask, are your guards augmented? Enhanced with technology or biological modification? No, G1 Park said simply. They are ordinary humans. Well-trained, but ordinary. Impossible, Krasner muttered. No natural being moves like that. Taiho heard this through the speakers. He looked up at the observation deck, making eye contact with the reptilian warrior. When he spoke, his voice was soft but clear. On Earth, what we just did is considered basic diplomatic security. We have specialists who train specifically for combat. Those individuals make us look slow. The observation deck erupted in noise. Every alien began talking at once. Some demanded to know more about Earth. Others insisted humans must be lying. A few wanted to see more demonstrations. Several looked genuinely frightened. Velthur raised one claw-like appendage for silence. Ambassador Park, I believe the Council needs to understand humanity better. Perhaps you would consent to a briefing? We have many questions. G1 Park nodded. Of course, Security Chief. We are here to build understanding. Ask your questions. We will answer honestly. As the humans left the simulation chamber, Hana glanced at Taiho. We might have revealed too much. Taiho considered this. Perhaps. But now they will listen when we speak. Fear or respect, both command attention. The question was whether the galaxy would see humans as potential allies or potential threats. Tomorrow's briefing would determine that answer. The diplomatic reception was supposed to be peaceful. 3 days had passed since the human guards demonstration, and the station had been buzzing with gossip and speculation. Tonight, delegates from all 47 species gathered in the Grand Hall to celebrate the opening of the Peace Summit. Music played. Strange foods from dozens of worlds filled elaborate tables. Diplomats discussed trade agreements and cultural exchanges. Tae-ho stood near the eastern wall, watching the crowd. Hana was positioned at the north entrance. Su-jin covered the south. Dong-jin and Yuna maintained mobile patrols, circulating through the guests. To casual observers, the human guards looked relaxed, almost decorative in their formal uniforms. Anyone watching closely would see their eyes never stopped moving. Ambassador Ji-won Park stood in conversation with Brintok and Ambassador Zelper, a crystalline being whose body refracted light into rainbow patterns. They were discussing water purification technology that humans had developed. The conversation was friendly, productive. Across the hall, Krasner stood with his own delegation. He had been unusually quiet since the simulation. His warriors surrounded him, all heavily armed according to their customs. They wore full combat armor even to the reception. Their weapons were supposedly set to non-lethal modes. But the threat was visible and intentional. Chanwoo Yoon, the human medical officer, stood near the refreshment tables, explaining human dietary customs to a curious group of herbivore species. Hyeon-soo Lee discussed art with a delegation from a species that communicated through color changes. Everything seemed normal. Tae-ho's instinct told him otherwise. He had felt it for the past 20 minutes. Something was wrong. He couldn't identify the specific threat, but years of training had sharpened his danger sense to a razor's edge. He caught Hana's eye across the room. She nodded slightly. She felt it too. Dong-jin moved closer to Ambassador Park, his path seeming casual and random. Su-jin positioned herself near the main exit. Yuna drifted toward the service corridors. All 5 guards were now in optimal defensive positions, without appearing to have changed formation at all. Velther stood near the council podium. His security team spread throughout the hall. He had increased guard presence after the human demonstration, perhaps feeling embarrassed by how easily humans had passed his test. His teams carried stun weapons, energy nets, and shield generators. They looked professional and alert. The attack came from where no one expected. The service door near the eastern wall exploded inward, not with fire or force, but with a controlled burst that disabled the lock and override systems. 3 figures emerged, moving fast. They wore full combat suits with military-grade armor. Each carried plasma rifles designed for ship-to-ship combat, far too powerful for use inside a space station. The first attacker fired at the ceiling. The plasma bolt punched through metal, causing a shower of sparks. The music stopped. Aliens screamed and scrambled away. Nobody moves. The lead attacker shouted through his helmet speakers, "This is for Krasner's honor." Krasner's own eyes widened in shock. "I did not order this." The attackers ignored him. They were from his species, but apparently acting without his knowledge. A rival faction within his own people, making a statement through violence. Velther's security team reacted immediately. 4 guards raised their weapons and advanced. The attackers fired. Plasma bolts cut through the air. Velther's guards had shields, but military-grade plasma rifles overwhelmed them in seconds. 2 guards went down, their shields shattered. A third tried to return fire, but missed. The lead attacker turned his weapon toward the council delegates. Krasner has been humiliated by these soft mammals, his reputation destroyed. We will show the galaxy that our people are still strong. Tae-ho moved. He didn't run. He didn't shout. He simply crossed 20 meters of open space while the attacker was still finishing his sentence. The human guard's speed was impossible. One moment he was against the wall. The next moment he was next to the lead attacker, his hand gripping the plasma rifle's barrel. Forcing it upward, the attacker pulled the trigger. The plasma bolt went straight up, hitting the ceiling again. Tae-ho twisted the weapon with precise force. The attacker's fingers, locked in the trigger guard, bent at an angle that made him scream. The rifle fell. Tae-ho caught it, removed the power cell in one smooth motion, and threw both pieces in opposite directions. Total time, 1.4 seconds. The second attacker aimed at Tae-ho's back. Hana was already there. She had sprinted across the room the instant Tae-ho moved, reading his intention without communication. She hit the attacker's weapon arm with a strike that made the muscles spasm. The rifle swung wide. She trapped the weapon between her arm and body, controlling it completely. Her other hand found the release catches on the attacker's helmet. It popped off. Her palm strike to his jaw was precise and measured. The attacker collapsed, unconscious. Total time, 2.1 seconds. The third attacker was smarter. He grabbed Ambassador Zelper, pulling the crystalline diplomat in front of him as a shield. "Stay back. I'll kill the council member." Su-jin was already behind him. She had moved through the crowd like smoke, invisible until she wanted to be seen. The attacker didn't know she was there until her hand locked onto his weapon arm, pulling it away from Zelper. Her leg hooked behind his knee. He fell backward, releasing the ambassador. Su-jin controlled his descent, ensuring he didn't hit his head. She removed his weapon, disabled it, and secured the attacker with a hold that left him breathing, but unable to move. Total time, 2.8 seconds. The entire attack lasted 6.3 seconds from the door exploding to the last. Attacker being subdued. The grand hall was silent except for alarm sirens and the crackling of damaged electrical systems. 300 aliens stared at the human guards. The three attackers lay on the floor, alive but completely disabled. Not one shot had been fired in defense. Not one weapon had been drawn. The humans had simply moved, and the threat had ended. Velther was on the ground near the podium. One of the plasma shots had grazed his side, burning through his natural armor. He was hurt but alive. Chan Wu-yun was already running toward him, medical kit in hand. "Don't move," Shan Wu said, his voice calm despite the chaos. "You've got burns on your thorax and damage to your secondary respiratory system. Let me work." Velther tried to protest, but Shan Wu was already applying treatments. The human medical officer's hands moved with the same precision and speed the guards had shown. Within 30 seconds, Velther's pain was controlled and his breathing stabilized. Tae-ho helped Velther's fallen guards to their feet. They were shaken but uninjured, their shields having absorbed most of the plasma damage. Hana checked on Ambassador Zelper, who was rattled but unharmed. Su-jin secured the three attackers, ensuring they couldn't escape or harm themselves. Krazener pushed through the crowd, his face showing emotions his translator struggled to convey. "I swear on my ancestors, I did not order this attack. These fools acted without my permission. They have dishonored my name." Ji-won Park regarded him carefully. "We believe you, Representative Krazener. Your reaction was genuine." Brintak approached slowly, his large eyes blinking rapidly. "The humans. You responded before our own security could even assess the threat. You disabled 3 military-trained attackers in seconds, without weapons, while protecting everyone in the room." Tae-ho helped the lead attacker to his feet, handling him firmly but without cruelty. "It's what we're trained to do." Velther, still being treated by Shan Wu, spoke through labored breaths. "Trained? That was beyond any training I've ever seen. You moved before the first shot was fully fired. You reacted as if you knew what would happen before it did. How is this possible?" Ambassador Park stepped forward. "Perhaps now is the time for complete honesty. Security Chief, council members, you've seen what human guards can do. You deserve to understand why we are the way we are. Zelper's crystalline body pulsed with colors that indicated confusion and concern. Yes, Ambassador. I have traveled to over 200 worlds in my long life. I have never encountered beings like you. Your speed, your reactions, your coordination. It seems almost supernatural. Young Mi Shin joined the group. It's not supernatural. It's biological. It's evolutionary. May I show you something? She activated a holographic display from her portable device. An image of Earth appeared, rotating slowly. This is our homeworld. To most species in the galaxy, it would be classified as a death world, unsurvivable, hostile. Brintok leaned closer. I don't understand. It looks beautiful. It is beautiful, young Mi agreed. It's also one of the most dangerous planets in known space. The gravity is 2.3 times galactic standard. The atmosphere is highly reactive. The weather systems are violent and unpredictable, and the life that evolved there adapted to these conditions. She changed the display to show various Earth animals, predators with fangs and claws, prey animals with incredible speed, creatures that could run for hours without stopping. Humans evolved as both predators and prey, young Mi continued. We hunted, and we were hunted. This made us different from most intelligent species. We developed abilities you're now witnessing. Velther watched despite his pain. The simulation. The attack just now. You moved as if predicting actions before they happened. Taeho nodded. Pattern recognition. Humans evolved tracking prey across vast distances. We learned to read body language, predict behavior, anticipate action. An attacker's muscles tense before firing. Their weight shifts before moving. Their eyes focus on targets before acting. We see these micro-movements and react to them. Impossible, Krasner muttered. Reading body language in the middle of combat while moving that fast? Not impossible, Chanwu said, finishing his treatment of Velther. Automatic. We don't think about it any more than you think about breathing. Our brains process these patterns instantly. Hannah added quietly, every human can do this to some degree. Our guards simply train to maximize the ability we all possess naturally. The crowd pressed closer, dozens of species listening intently. Questions erupted from all sides. How fast could humans move? How long could they fight? What else could they do? Were all humans this capable? Ambassador Park raised her hand for silence. Tomorrow, we will present a full briefing to the Council. We will answer all questions honestly and completely. Tonight, we should focus on medical care and security. This attack, though stopped quickly, still demands investigation. Velther tried to stand. Chan Wu pushed him back down. Stay still. Your injuries need time to stabilize. But I must coordinate security response, Velther protested. Your second-in-command can handle it, Chan Wu said firmly. You're injured. Rest. Velther looked at the human medical officer, then at the guards who had saved his life and stopped the attackers. Something in his compound eyes changed. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Ambassador Park, tomorrow, when you brief the Council, I hope you will be completely honest. Because I think we have all underestimated humanity severely. And that underestimation could have caused deaths tonight if your guards had not been present. G1 Park nodded. Complete honesty, I promise. As medical teams arrived and the hall slowly cleared, Tai-Ho stood with his team. They were surrounded by alien guards and delegates who kept staring, kept trying to understand what they had witnessed. Dong Jin spoke softly to his fellow guards. Tomorrow is going to be interesting. Hana smiled slightly. They asked for the truth. Now they'll get it. I just hope they're ready to hear it. The question was not whether the galaxy would learn about humanity. The question was whether they would accept what they learned, or whether fear would drive them to push humanity away. Tomorrow would provide that answer. The council chamber was completely full. Every seat was occupied. Delegates who normally skipped minor briefings had arrived early to claim positions. The attack at the reception had changed everything. Now, every species in the galaxy wanted to understand the humans, who had stopped armed attackers with bare hands. Ambassador G1 Park stood at the central podium. Behind her, a massive holographic display showed the Earth rotating slowly. Around her sat representatives from 47 species, all watching intently. Velther, still recovering from his injuries, sat in the front row. His medical wrappings were visible beneath his formal robes. "Thank you all for coming," G1 began. "Yesterday, you asked questions about human capabilities. Today, I will answer those questions completely and honestly. Some of what I share may surprise you. Some may concern you. All of it is true." She activated the display. Earth grew larger, showing continents and oceans in detail. "This is Earth, our homeworld. To understand humans, you must first understand where we came from. By galactic standards, Earth is classified as a Class 7 death world. For context, most intelligent life evolved on Class 2 or 3 worlds. Comfortable, stable, predictable. Brintok leaned forward. Class 7? That classification is for worlds considered too dangerous for colonization. Correct, G1 confirmed. Earth has gravity that is 2.3 times the galactic standard. This means everything on Earth evolved carrying more than double the weight you experience on most worlds. Human bones are denser. Our muscles are stronger. Our cardiovascular system is more robust. What feels like normal movement to us would exhaust most species in minutes. The display showed various Earth environments. Mountains, deserts, jungles, frozen tundra. Earth's weather is violent by galactic standards. Temperature swings of 30 to 40 degrees are common. Storms that can level cities form regularly. Our ancestors had to survive these conditions without advanced technology for hundreds of thousands of years. Hyen-Su Lee stepped forward. As the cultural liaison, she would explain the biological details. "But gravity and weather alone don't explain what you witnessed," Hyen-Su said. "The key is how humans evolved. Most intelligent species in the galaxy evolved from either predators or prey. Humans are different. We evolved as both." She changed the display to show early human ancestors. Creatures that walked upright, carried tools, and lived in groups. Our early ancestors were prey animals. We were hunted by creatures stronger and faster than us. Big cats, bears, pack hunters. We developed specific survival traits. The ability to detect danger through tiny environmental cues. Enhanced pattern recognition to predict predator behavior. Extreme endurance to outlast pursuers. The display showed humans running. Not sprinting, but steady jogging that continued for hours. Humans are persistence hunters, Hyen-Su continued. We cannot outrun most prey in a sprint, but we can run for hours while our prey exhausts itself. On Earth, humans are the only species that can run marathon distances regularly. Many humans do this for recreation. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Krasner spoke up. "Hours? My fastest warriors can maintain combat pace for perhaps 20 minutes before fatigue sets in. Average human soldiers can maintain combat effectiveness for 8 to 12 hours, Hyen-Su said. Our diplomatic guards train to operate for up to 72 hours with minimal rest. This is not exceptional by human standards. It's expected." Zelper's body shifted colors rapidly. "This seems impossible. The energy requirements alone. Human metabolism is extremely efficient," Hyen-Su explained. "We evolved eating a wide variety of foods because Earth's environments are so diverse. We can extract energy from almost any organic source. Our bodies store energy effectively, and release it as needed. This is why humans can go from rest to full combat effectiveness in under 2 seconds. We call it the adrenaline response. She showed a chemical diagram. When humans perceive danger, our bodies flood with hormones that enhance every physical system. Strength increases. Pain tolerance increases. Reaction time improves. Blood flow redirects to essential systems. For a short period, humans can perform at levels far above normal capacity. Young Mi Xin joined the presentation. Let me address what you saw during the attack. You noticed our guards reacted before the attackers completed their actions. This is not supernatural. It's pattern recognition combined with enhanced reaction time. The display showed a detailed analysis of the attack, broken down frame by frame. The first attacker tensed his shoulders before firing. His weight shifted forward. His eyes focused on the ceiling. These micro-movements happened in fractions of a second, but our guards noticed and responded. By the time his finger reached the trigger, Tai Ho was already moving. Velther clicked his mandibles. You're saying your guards predicted the action by reading body language? Yes, Young Mi confirmed. Humans evolved reading facial expressions and body language because we're social creatures. We lived in groups where understanding intent was crucial for survival. We can process dozens of nonverbal cues simultaneously and unconsciously. Your species used translators for verbal communication. Humans use translators and read your body language at the same time. Tai Ho stood from his position near the wall. May I demonstrate, Ambassador? G1 nodded. Tai Ho approached the podium. Representative Krasner, Tai Ho said, would you assist me? Krasner hesitated, then stood. He approached warily. Tai Ho stood relaxed, hands at his sides. Throw a punch at me, Tai Ho said. Don't hold back. Try to hit me. Krasner's eyes widened. You want me to strike you? Yes, as hard as you can. Krasner considered this. Then, without warning, his clawed fist shot toward Tai Ho's face. It was fast, backed by powerful muscles and genuine intent. Tai Ho moved his head 4 inches to the left. The fist passed through empty air, missing by a margin so small several delegates gasped. Tai Ho hadn't stepped back, hadn't blocked, simply moved the minimum distance necessary. Again, Tai Ho said calmly. Krasner struck 3 more times, varying his approach, using feints and combinations. Tai Ho avoided every attack with minimal movement, his expression never changing. He wasn't predicting through supernatural ability. He was reading Krasner's shoulder tension, hip rotation, eye focus. Every attack telegraphed itself through body language. Enough, Krasner said, breathing heavily. How do you do this? Training, Tai Ho replied simply. But any human could learn to do this. It takes time and practice, but the capability exists in all of us because we evolved needing it. He returned to his position. Guan continued the presentation. Now I must address the difficult part, Earth's history. Humans are not naturally peaceful. We are naturally violent. This is important to understand. The display showed historical images. Battles, wars, conflicts spanning thousands of years. Human history is 10,000 years of continuous warfare. We fought over territory, resources, beliefs, and sometimes just because different groups existed. We developed weapons constantly, each generation creating more effective ways to kill other humans. Swords, bows, guns, explosives, nuclear weapons. We nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times. The chamber was silent. Every delegate watched the images of human conflict. But something else happened during those 10,000 years, G1 said. We also developed philosophy, art, diplomacy, and martial arts. The display changed to show humans practicing various fighting styles. Martial arts are weaponless combat systems refined over centuries. Every human culture developed them independently. They teach not just how to fight, but when to fight, and more importantly, when not to fight. Hyen Su stepped forward again. Our diplomatic guards don't carry weapons because they don't need them. Every human guard has trained in martial arts since childhood. 15 years minimum before they can serve in diplomatic roles. They learn thousands of techniques for controlling opponents without killing them. They study anatomy, physics, psychology. They become living weapons. She paused, letting that statement settle. But the final piece, the most important piece, is that humans chose peace despite our violent nature. About 300 years ago, Earth was divided into hundreds of nations, all competing, many fighting. We looked at our history and made a choice. We decided that we were capable of better. We unified our world not through conquest, but through cooperation. Young Mi added, "This is why our guards show such restraint. They know exactly how dangerous they are. They know they could kill most beings in this room in seconds. But they choose not to, because we learned through our violent history that strength without control is just destruction." Tae-ho spoke again from his position. "When I disabled those attackers yesterday, I could have killed them easily. Humans know dozens of ways to end life quickly. We learn them so we understand exactly where the line is between control and killing. Every strike I made was carefully measured. Every technique was chosen to minimize harm while achieving the objective. This is what human guards do. We are not peaceful because we are weak. We are peaceful because we are strong enough to choose peace." The chamber remained silent for a long moment. Then Brintok spoke, his voice thoughtful. "You're saying humans are predators who learn to control their predatory nature?" "Yes," Ji-1 confirmed. "Humans are persistence predators with enhanced pattern recognition, extreme endurance, high pain tolerance, and 10,000 years of martial tradition. We evolved to hunt, to fight, to survive on a death world. But we also evolved intelligence, empathy, and the wisdom to know that violence should always be the last option, not the first." Zelper's body shifted to colors indicating deep thought. "This explains much, but it also raises concerns. Your species is naturally more dangerous than most species in this chamber. Some delegates will wonder if humanity should be allowed in the council at all." Krasner stood abruptly. "I disagree." Every eye turned to the reptilian warrior. He continued, his voice firm. "Yesterday, humans saved my life. Saved all our lives. They stopped attackers from my own species who acted to defend my honor. The humans could have let those fools kill me. It would have solved their problem. I am the one who mocked them, challenged them, doubted them. But instead, they protected everyone equally, including me. They disabled the attackers without killing them, even though killing would have been easier and safer." He looked at Tae-ho directly. "A species that is dangerous, but chooses not to be, is safer than a species that is weak and pretends to be strong. I trust humans precisely because they admitted their capacity for violence while demonstrating their commitment to peace." Velther stood, still moving carefully due to his injuries. "I concur. As security chief, I have reviewed the attack footage dozens of times. The human guards had multiple opportunities to use lethal force. They chose not to. They protected my personnel. They saved council members. They even ensured the attackers were not injured unnecessarily during restraint. This is not the behavior of a dangerous species. This is the behavior of a controlled, disciplined, and fundamentally peaceful people." Ji-1 bowed slightly. "Thank you both. I want to be clear about one final point. Yes, humans are capable of incredible violence. Yes, we evolved as predators. Yes, we could be dangerous. But we're also capable of incredible compassion, creativity, and cooperation. We don't ask the Council to ignore our nature. We ask you to see all of our nature. The capacity for violence and the choice for peace. Both are human. Brintok stood slowly. I move that we vote on humanity's full acceptance into the Galactic Council. We've seen enough to make an informed decision. Seconded, Zelper said immediately. The vote was called. G1 and the human delegation stepped back, waiting. The council deliberated for 3 hours, debating every point raised. Finally, they returned with their answer. The vote was 39 in favor, 5 opposed, 3 abstaining. Humanity was accepted as a full council member. As the chamber emptied, Teho stood with his fellow guards. Hannah spoke quietly. They voted yes because they're more afraid of saying no. Teho nodded. Perhaps. But fear can become respect over time. We just have to prove we deserve it. The real test would come next. Acceptance was just the beginning. 3 weeks had passed since the vote. The Galactic Council Station had settled into a new rhythm. Human guards moved through the corridors with the same quiet efficiency they always had. But now other species watched them with different eyes. The mockery was gone. In its place was something complex. Respect mixed with wariness, curiosity blended with caution. Teho stood in the central observation deck, watching ships dock and depart. The station was busier than usual. Word of humanity's capabilities had spread through the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Delegations that had ignored the Peace Summit now sent representatives. Everyone wanted to see the humans who fought without weapons. Velther approached, his movements still slightly careful due to his healing injuries. Guard Captain Kim, do you have a moment? Teho had been promoted to captain after the attack. The title felt strange, but he wore it with the same quiet dignity he wore everything else. Of course, Security Chief. Velther's compound eyes reflected the starlight beyond the viewports. I have a proposal from the Council. Several species have formally requested human guards for their own diplomatic missions. They want to hire your people for protection services. Teho considered this. What does Ambassador Park think? She said to ask you. This decision affects your people most directly. Before Teho could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. Velther's communicator crackled urgently. Security Chief. Emergency at Docking Bay 7. New arrival, but the ship is broadcasting distress codes. They both ran. Teho's speed made Velther struggle to keep pace. Hannah, Su-Jin, and Dong-Jin converged from different directions, responding to the alarm instantly. By the time they reached the docking bay, Council security forces were already assembled, weapons ready. The ship that had docked was small, designed for a crew of maybe 10. Its hull showed damage from weapons fire. The airlock hissed open. What emerged was unlike anything on the station. It looked vaguely humanoid, but covered in thick fur. They moved on 4 legs, but could rear up on 2. Their faces combined features of predators and prey animals in ways that seemed biologically impossible. They were young, that much was clear. Children, by any species standards. The largest of them, barely reaching an adult human's shoulder height, spoke through a translator that crackled with damage. Please, we need help. Our world. Attack. Everyone. The creature collapsed. Its companions caught it before it hit the ground. Velther stepped forward cautiously. His security teams maintaining defensive positions. State your species and origin, Velther commanded. One of the smaller creatures looked up, tears visible in its large eyes. We are Tauren, from the Outer Rim. Our colony was attacked 3 days ago. We escaped in the emergency shuttle. We heard this station was safe. Please, we need help. Chang Wu-Yun pushed through the security cordon, his medical kit already open. Let me examine them. They're clearly in distress. The Tauren children flinched away from him at first, their instincts making them fearful. Hannah stepped forward slowly, her movements deliberately non-threatening. She knelt down to their eye level. "It's okay," she said softly. "We won't hurt you. The doctor just wants to help. Can you tell us who attacked your colony?" The largest Taurian, now conscious again thanks to Chan Wu's quick treatment, spoke haltingly. "They called themselves the Vrex Syndicate, pirates. They wanted our mining operations. When the colony refused to surrender, they killed everyone. Adults stayed behind so the children could escape. We've been traveling for 3 days, hiding, running. We didn't know where else to go." Velther's antennae drooped. The Vrex Syndicate. They're a known pirate organization. Ruthless. They've attacked 14 colonies in the past year. The Council has been trying to locate their base. "How many children?" Ji-1 Park asked, arriving with young Mi Shin and Hyun-Soo Lee. 32, the Taurian child said. "All of us that survived. We need help. We need someone to save the adults if any are still alive. We need—" The child broke down crying. Its companions huddled together, their fear and trauma visible to everyone watching. Tae-ho exchanged glances with his team. No words were needed. They all knew what needed to happen. "Ambassador," Tae-ho said quietly, "with your permission." Ji-1 looked at him for a long moment. "This isn't a diplomatic matter, Captain. This is military action. That's not what guards are for." "Our mission is to protect," Tae-ho replied. "These children need protection. Their people need protection. That makes it our concern." Krasner stepped forward from the crowd that had gathered. "The human is right. The Council has debated action against the Vrex for months. We talk while they kill. If the humans wish to act, I say let them." Brintok shook his head. "This sets a dangerous precedent. Allowing one species to take military action without full Council approval." Zelper's crystalline body pulsed with thoughtful colors. "Perhaps. But these children have no time for bureaucratic process. The Council takes weeks to authorize military intervention. By then, any survivors will be dead or scattered." Velther looked at Tae-ho. "You understand what you're suggesting? The Vrex Syndicate has ships, heavy weapons, fortified positions. This isn't stopping 3 attackers in a reception hall. This is actual combat." Tae-ho's expression didn't change. "We understand. How many guards do you have available?" Velther asked. 5 here. We can request 20 more from Earth. They could arrive in 4 days." "The Vrex won't wait 4 days," Krasner said. "They'll relocate once they know survivors escaped. You need to move now." Tae-ho nodded. "Then we move now. 5 will be enough." The chamber erupted with protests. "Impossible. Suicide. Reckless. The Vrex had perhaps 200 fighters. How could 5 humans, even skilled ones, possibly face those odds?" Ji-1 Park raised her hand for silence. When she spoke, her voice carried authority that stopped all argument. "Captain Kim, I'm authorizing you to take whatever action you deem necessary to protect innocent lives. You have full diplomatic immunity and my complete support. Don't make me regret this." Tae-ho bowed slightly. "Understood, Ambassador." 4 hours later, a small human ship departed the station. It carried 5 guards, basic supplies, and the coordinates to the Tauran colony provided by the traumatized children. Council representatives watched the ship disappear into faster-than-light travel with mixed emotions. Some thought they had just witnessed 5 people commit suicide. Others wondered if they were about to see something that would change the galaxy's understanding of warfare. Velther stood in his security office, monitoring all reports from the sector. Beside him, Chen Wu-yun waited with medical supplies, ready to depart the moment the guards called for evacuation support. "Do you think they'll survive?" Velther asked quietly. Chen Wu didn't hesitate. "They'll survive. The question is whether the Vrex will. 2 days later, the human ship returned. It docked at the station with automated protocols, its communications silent. Medical teams and security forces assembled at the docking bay. What would they find? Bodies? Wounded? Failure? The airlock opened. Tae-ho stepped through first. His uniform was torn and stained, but he walked steadily. Behind him came Hana, Sujin, Dongjin, and Yuna. All were injured. None were defeated. Behind them came torn adults. 16 survivors, wounded but alive. They had been prisoners of the Vrex, held for ransom or slave labor. Now they were free. Chon-woo and his medical team rushed forward. As they began treating the wounded, Velther approached Tae-ho. What happened? Tuho's voice was tired but steady. The Vrex had a fortified compound on the colony's main moon. 200 fighters, as intelligence suggested. We infiltrated during their night cycle. Disabled their communications first, then their power systems. After that, it was just a matter of time. Just a matter of time? Velther repeated. 5 against 200? Hannah, being treated by Shan-woo, answered. They had weapons. We had training. They expected enemies to use the same tactics they would use. We didn't. Most pirates are bullies, not soldiers. When someone fights back effectively, they panic. Sujin added, We didn't kill anyone unless absolutely necessary. 73 unconscious. 42 disabled with non-lethal injuries. 18 chose to surrender immediately after seeing what we could do. The rest fled in their ships. You're saying you neutralized a fortified pirate base with 5 people and minimal casualties? Velther's translator made sounds it had never made before. Tae-ho nodded. The compound is secure. The Tauran colony can be rebuilt. We've provided coordinates to Council security forces. They can claim the site and arrest the pirates we left behind. The news spread through the station within minutes. Within hours, it had reached every Council world. Within days, the entire galaxy was talking about it. 5 human guards had done what full military forces had been debating for months. They had acted decisively, effectively, and had shown the same restraint they had shown on the station. Even facing deadly enemies, they had chosen to capture rather than kill whenever possible. 1 week later, the Council convened an emergency session. Tae-ho stood before them, his wounds healed enough to allow formal appearances. Zelper spoke first. Captain Kim, the Council has discussed your actions extensively. We have a decision to make. Some representatives believe you overstepped your authority. Others believe you demonstrated exactly what the Council needs. We have decided to make an offer. She paused, her crystalline body shifting through colors that indicated significance. The Galactic Council wishes to establish an official protection force. Not military, not police. Something different. A group dedicated to protecting innocent lives, resolving conflicts with minimal violence, and responding to situations where traditional forces cannot act quickly enough. We wish to call this force the Council Guard, and we wish for humanity to lead it. The chamber was silent. Tae-ho looked at his team, then at Ambassador Park. She nodded slightly. The Council does us great honor, Tae-ho said carefully. But we have conditions. Bringtak's eyes widened. Conditions? Yes. First, any species can join the Council Guard, but all members must complete human training protocols. Second, Council Guards will never carry lethal weapons unless absolutely necessary for a specific mission. Third, the Guard answers directly to a joint council, not to any single species or political faction. Fourth, the Guard's mission is always protection of innocent life, never political or military action. Krasner stood. These conditions. They turn your warriors into something the galaxy has never seen. a force powerful enough to face any threat, but dedicated to preservation rather than destruction. Yes, Taeho said simply, because that's what the galaxy needs. Not more soldiers. Not more weapons. Guards who understand that true strength is knowing when not to fight and having the skill to end fights quickly when fighting becomes necessary. The vote was unanimous. The Council Guard was established with humanity as its founding and leading species. 3 months later, the Training Academy opened on a neutral station. The first class had 80 students from 30 different species. They learned human martial arts, conflict resolution, pattern recognition, endurance training, and most importantly, restraint. They learned that being a guard wasn't about dominance. It was about protection. Tae Dasho became the guard commander. Hana was appointed as training director. Sujin, Dongjin, and Yuna became senior instructors. Ji-won Park continued as humanity's primary ambassador, now with even greater influence. One evening, Taeho stood in the same observation deck where he had stood months before. Velther joined him, now fully recovered. "I was wrong about humans," Velther said. "When you first arrived, I thought you were naive, foolish, weak for not carrying weapons. I understand now. You don't carry weapons because you don't need them. You are the weapon, but you're also the shield. Both at once." Taeho watched the stars. "Every species has strengths, Security Chief. Humans just happen to be good at controlled violence. But that's not what makes us special. What makes us special is that we learn to control that violence, to channel it toward protection instead of destruction." A new ship docked below. Through the viewport, Taeho could see delegates from a species humanity had never met. Young warriors, heavily armed, striding toward the station with aggressive confidence. Velther chuckled. "They look like you did when you arrived. Full of assumptions. Ready to prove their strength." Taeho smiled slightly. "Then they'll learn the same lesson everyone learns eventually. The most dangerous person in the room isn't the one with the biggest weapon. It's the one who doesn't need to draw it." As the new delegates entered the station, they passed a group of Council Guard trainees. Mixed species training together, practicing the techniques humanity had shared. Learning not just how to fight, but when not to. Not just how to win, but how to protect. The galaxy was changing. Slowly, carefully, but definitely. And at the center of that change was a simple truth that humanity had learned. Through 10,000 years of war, peace isn't the absence of the capacity for violence. Peace is the choice not to use that capacity, except when absolutely necessary, to protect innocent life. In the training halls, human instructors taught alien students how to move, how to read opponents, how to end conflicts in seconds. But more importantly, they taught why restraint matters, why control is stronger than power, why the greatest warriors are those who avoid war. The humans had arrived at the council carrying no weapons. The galaxy had mocked them. Now that same galaxy was learning to follow their example. Not because humans were perfect, but because they had learned the hardest lesson in existence. True strength isn't about what you can destroy. It's about what you choose to protect. And that lesson, more than any weapon or technology, would shape the galaxy's future for generations to come.